So with Rob Shaw, Pan American Games gold medalist in wheelchair tennis. Rob, how are things? Things have been a bit different, I'm sure, in your schedule. How are things in the last couple of weeks for you?
Yeah, things are, I think, settling into a new normal. I think from a training perspective, for me, we have a good handle on things we can do from home. From a competitive side of things, we don't have tournaments for the next couple of months. With the new rescheduling of the Paralympics and the Olympics, that puts a lot of us athletes at ease as far as being able to restructure our training blocks and our competition schedules. And then from a work perspective, for me, we're finally starting to convert all of our work to online, which is a challenge. But like I said, I think we're finally settling into the new norm, which is quite comfortable.
Talk about your work. What do you actually do?
Yeah, so I'm in the last year of my PhD studies. And because we do a lot of human behavior research, a lot of our protocols are designed to be analyzing behavior in a face-to-face, in-person setting. And so because of that, we've had to change some of the protocols to now adapt to using video conferencing, and what kind of effect does that have on the research question, on the way we do our measurements. So it's a little challenging, but I think we've managed to get a pretty good idea of how to adapt things, and our studies will be able to carry on almost as normal, which is great.
And have you been home, like self-quarantine with your family in the last couple of days?
I've been at home in Kelowna. All my family's back in Ontario. I think I take probably a little more strict procedures when it comes to quarantine, just because I know that I have a compromised immune function and respiratory tract function. So, for me, it's getting groceries delivered to my door. It's doing all of my training indoors. If I do go outside, I really try to limit it to super early in the morning or super late at night when I know there's going to be less activity in my building. And that took a little bit to adjust to, but I'm a bit of a homebody anyways. And being on tour so much for tennis, it's kind of nice to be home, to be honest.
Absolutely. And you've had a career, probably your best, 2019 was probably your best year in your career so far. How did you react to the postpone of the Paralympics? Like knowing that you had the momentum on your side, what was your reaction?
Yeah, it was something that, I think fortunately I had planned for earlier than a lot of athletes. I had some good conversations with my sports psychologist just around reframing our mindset just to prepare for the worst. And so when we did get the news, obviously it was a blow, but having mentally prepared for it a bit earlier sort of allowed me to come to terms with it a bit faster as well. And just reframing things, I had a great 2019, but we still feel like my ceiling hasn't been reached yet. So it gives me an extra year to try to catch up on some of these competitors who are ranked above me and just keep on progressing. So I view it as an extra year to get better and not as a year that's lost.
Okay, well, is there, when you reflect about your sporting career, is there a time or like it's a story that you can share that you can see how determined, or you showed a lot of determination towards your career? Is there any stories that you can link with what you've done in sport?
Yeah, I think like in any para sport, you often have divisions and classifications that make it as equal as possible across the playing field, but you as an athlete may feel like it's unfair for some circumstances. So I think for me, my determination really focuses in on not allowing those issues and concerns to seep into my conscious thought and seep into the way I go about my training and my competition. I think if you're determined and you're hungry, it doesn't matter who you're competing against, whether they have more function, less function, it doesn't matter. And I think that determination has really allowed me to escape the negativity around classification right now and just focus in on just competing as an athlete.
We've seen the tennis community doing some cool stuff on social media. I saw Federer and Djokovic showing their training habits while being in quarantine. Have you done a little bit of different skills and different things at home, trying to not lose a feeling of the court?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. I actually have been trying to figure out how I can stay in that competitive mind state. I think it's easy to train, from like a strength and conditioning perspective, but staying in that competitive mode and being away from the court is challenging. So I have a little wall in my green room that I bounce a ball against, take my hand in my racket, and just do some small volley work and anything to keep me just still feeling the tennis ball, still feeling the racket, and not just lifting weights. Because obviously getting strong is important, but still being connected to the reason why you're working out is probably even more important.
And do you have anyone in around you, or self quarantine with you that you can play racket with, or you're on your own?
No, really on my own. So it's usually me against the wall, and in that situation, the wall always wins.
That's a good point.
But it brings me back to my childhood where I used to spend hours and hours and hours outside my house hitting against the wall, pretending I was these different elite players, and so it brings me back to some pretty good childhood memories, which is quite enjoyable.
How's the team? How's everyone's spirit so far on your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think the spirits are pretty good. We're fortunate right now in Canada where I think we're taking pretty serious measures across all the provinces. So we haven't had a really massive spread yet. So people are still able to go outside. They're still able to get fresh air and do their exercise outside if they need to. Obviously, people are disappointed not being able to have that goal so close to come to fulfillment. But like I said earlier, it just gives us all an extra year to just refocus, get stronger, get better. If we have injuries, get healthier. So all in all, I think people are pretty okay right now.
And do you get quite a bit of contact with your teammates and your coaches? Are the coaches around to give you some tips, or you send them some videos? Have you done a couple things in that way?
Yeah, we're in close contact with the Tennis Canada coaches. Kai likes to check in once a week with me just to make sure I'm doing okay and make sure that I don't need any supports or anything from him. We have a good little activity that we'll be doing as a team where we're going to submit some videos as far as what we're doing at home to stay healthy and stay active, and just making sure our mental health is still okay, right? I think for a lot of those, the big one is making sure that you're in a good mind state day in and day out. You're not getting too down and not getting too lonely, and might be different for individuals who have partners, who have families, but for me, I live on my own, so it's definitely something that I'm happy he does to check in on me for.
And in terms of your qualification for Tokyo, or even like the world ranking, I know you were in the top 10 and you've been doing quite well over the past month. Is things are going to stay the same? What is the International Federation saying at this time? Have they come up with a statement?
No statement other than we have to just wait and see. That'll be interesting. I mean, that's obviously a really big concern for a lot of us athletes who were sort of on the bubble. Obviously, I was competing quite well and thought that I deserved to be qualified. Mathematically, I had qualified, even though it wasn't our June 8th period yet. But we'll wait and see. I mean, if they completely scrap it and we all have to re-qualify, then that's just the way of the world, and I'll be ready to do that. And if I get granted qualification, then even better. But we're mentally prepared for both situations.
Have you chat? I saw. I think I read something. It says that for the first time, Wimbledon will be canceled since World War II, I believe.
Yeah.
Have you chat with your teammates around the world about what's happening? Have you had the opportunity to see? Because maybe this is the situation in Canada, but is it pretty much the same around the world also?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar, but I think in tennis we're fortunate to play so many tournaments that you do get to know so many people from different countries, and it definitely was pretty tricky at first. We had a pretty good friend of ours who lives in Korea, and so obviously they were one of the first countries to be hit with it, and their protocols were probably more strict than most countries in a good way. But that was challenging for him, right? He didn't have access to a gym, no access to doesn't have a gym in his house. So that was really tricky for him. And he's someone who's ranked number 12 or 13 in the world, so right on the bubble as far as qualifying, and adds a whole different level of stress to his situation. So I think now, fast forward a month from that time when I spoke with him, everyone seems to be in a pretty even spot now. Everyone's quarantining. Everyone has the same procedures. Obviously, we feel really, really badly for our friends over in Spain and Italy. But all we can do is do our best to stop the spread in our own countries.
Yeah, good point. I know there's lots of uncertainties, but what is the plan between now and August 24th, 2021, the start of the Paralympics? Or, I mean, obviously there's lots between, but what would be the ideal plan?
Yeah, I mean, number one is make sure we're staying healthy. I had a bit of an elbow issue the last year and a half, so this is kind of a blessing in disguise for me. I'll be able to dedicate some time to getting that elbow to full strength, and then maintaining this strength, maintaining the competitive mindset, and just waiting for that first tournament to open. I think once we have that schedule in our hands, it's going to be pretty exciting. And the idea that we'll be able to sort of put these couple months of quarantine training into effect on the court will be exciting as well. But from a tennis perspective, I mean, just keep on playing good tennis, wait for the tournament schedule to come out, and take it one tournament at a time like we always do.
And in a perfect, two things I'd like you to share. What is so far your highlight of your career? That's number one. And what would be the ultimate dream for Rob? What would you like to accomplish? Is it a world ranking? Is it a certain medal, or what is it?
Yeah, I think so far the biggest highlight was winning the Birmingham tournament in Toronto this year.
Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would probably think that it would be the Pan Am Games. But the tournament following that was our home tournament in Canada, in Toronto. It's our biggest wheelchair tournament, and it's put on by Betty Birmingham, our number one sponsor. And no Canadian had won that.
That's cool.
And so it's a tournament that I've always wanted to win. The year before that, I was in the finals and lost to Wagner. So to be able to win in Lima, but then follow it up with even for me, a more personal, bigger win on home soil was, a huge highlight for me.
And just by curiosity, was Wagner there at the Birmingham tournament as well?
Wagner wasn't there, but Heath Davidson was, and at that point he was number 5 in the world. I had lost 2 or 3 in a row to him.
Wow.
So, big 3-set final. Betty was sitting on the sidelines watching, so to have her there and be able to celebrate with her afterwards was super special for me.
That's amazing. And the ultimate dream, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, ultimate dream. I mean, I would love to go to a Paralympic Games, obviously, and compete well at them. That was never the dream was always just to go and not care about how I performed. I think now that I've seen that I can perform well at the highest stage, it's sort of changed my mindset and changed my goals. So obviously, number one is getting there, but I think shifting more towards performing well and potentially sniffing at that podium would be awesome for sure.
Well, thank you for your time, Rob. On behalf of everyone at the Canadian Paralympic Committee, we wish you all the best. Stay safe and healthy during these difficult times.
We'll see you
again soon.
Take care.